Trying to become an overalls girl. It's not really working. I'm gonna wear them in this video, and if I look stupid, let me know and I will never wear them again. Hey y'all, I am back and I have more Let's Not Meet stories that I'm very nervous to read today. I feel like rambling right now, but I have nothing to ramble about, but I also have to save the rambling for the end, so maybe I'll think of something for the end of the video. But for now, we're gonna get started. This first story says, to the creepy white car that followed me for weeks, let's not meet again. I kind of want to buckle up because it keeps banging on the seat. We're gonna be a full-fledged overall girl today. This story happened when I was about 20 and in college. I'm 25 now and away from that school. This happened about a year after a serial killer was captured like 3 miles away from campus. My roommate matched with him on Tinder right before he was caught too. I could post that later if y'all are interested. You have to post about that, you have to. This also happened after the 2016 clown sightings around the US, to put it in perspective. I was visiting my friend who was an RA in a different building across campus. I would visit and do homework almost every night, then walk back to my dorm around 2 a.m. It was like clockwork. Dangerous, I know. I'm a tall, skinny girl, but I can put up a fight. There were 2 ways I could get back to my dorm: through the student center or a shortcut through the streets. If it was a nicer route, I would normally take the shorter route because I would like looking at the stars. As I began walking to classes, I noticed a white, rusty-looking car kind of following me. It was only periodically when I would notice it. The man in the car always seemed off to me, but the college was in a small town. It wasn't unusual to see the people who actually lived there around campus, given the main road in the town ran right through campus. One night, I was walking out of my friend's dorm and I was going to take the shorter route home. It was nearing the end of spring semester and really nice outside at this time. I reached the point where I could take the student center or cut through the streets. I was about to take the streets when I just froze suddenly. I kind of stood there with this gut feeling not to take the street and to go through the student center. I was tired and wanted to get back sooner, so I was really thinking about just ignoring my gut and taking the street. After a minute of debating, I had such an unsettling feeling, so I decided to go through the student center. I had to take a bridge over the street that I would initially cross. Once I was at the top of the bridge, a car turned on its lights and came out of a side area that I would have gone to if I had taken the street. My body went cold and frozen. It was the white rusty car that I had periodically seen around campus. I heard the guy say to someone else, "I don't know, she usually comes at this time." I sprinted so fast into the student center and sat in one of the chairs for a little bit. My heart was racing and I did not want to go back to my dorm in case someone was following me. Eventually, I made my way back to my dorm and fell asleep. I made the decision to never go through the street at night alone. So to the creepy guy in the car that knew my schedule, let's never meet again. When I read this story, because this is one of the few stories that I read all the way through before I posted it or before I read it on my channel. When I read, I don't know, she usually comes at this time, I immediately sent it to myself. I was like, I have to read this one. That is so fucking scary. I'm trying not to swear, but it's really hard not to swear. This next story says, the people in my garage / someone opened my window. So this is 2 stories in one. The first one is the people in my garage. This first one was probably 4 to 5 years ago, so I would have been around 11 or 12. It was during the summer, so being up at 3 a.m. wasn't anything abnormal. I decided that I wanted some chocolate chip Eggo waffles, as I should, TBH, so I went into the kitchen to make some. Now the layout of this section of our house is important here, so I'll try to explain this the best that I can. Our house was all ground level, and my bedroom was down the hallway from the garage. Our living room led into our kitchen, which had a door into the laundry room. In our laundry room, if you were to turn left, the second you walked in there was a door that led to our garage. Our garage door's lock was broken. So since there was another back door into the garage, if there was a rare occasion we'd be in there, we had an old washing machine pushed against the door. There was nothing of value in there, except my dad's 1969 Camaro race car that he loved. It was my uncle's who had passed less than a year ago at this point, and it was given to my dad after his death. He loved that car. This seems important to mention for later events. It also had the opening to our little attic / storage area, but there was no stairs or a ladder to get up there since we never went up there. The only way to slide the wood piece that covered the open spot would be if you stood on the car or the sink below it. I stood in the kitchen on the opposite side of the room from the laundry room door, waiting for my waffles to pop out of the toaster. I started hearing loud bangs from the garage, but since even I'm aware of how paranoid I am, I ignored it at first. Something felt incredibly off. Then, I start hearing a man's voice speak, but it was muffled, so I couldn't tell who it was or what they were saying. I convinced myself I was just paranoid, or even that it was a spirit. This house was also haunted. That was until I heard somebody turn the garage door's doorknob while I was getting my waffles onto the plate. At that point, I knew I wasn't being paranoid. I grabbed the plate and ran down the hall to tell my mom someone was in the house. I was even more terrified because it was only my mom and I that night. My dad and brother were on an overnight trip. I woke her up and told her, but in her half-asleep state, she told me I was paranoid and to go to my room and lock the door if I was that scared. So, I went to my room, locked the door, and ate my food. I finally fell asleep around 6, when I was so exhausted my body could not keep my eyes open. The next day, I was hanging out with my best friend, we'll call A. My dad had one of those big monster truck things. I don't know what they're called. I think it's just a monster truck, right? That my brother, myself, and our friends like to hang out in. A and I were sitting in the bed of the truck, which was at the perfect height to see into the garage through the window. I was sitting on the side of the truck where my back was turned to the window, and A was sitting across from me. I was telling her about the noises I heard the night before, and she was all, "Turn around." I did, and a chill went down my spine when I saw what happened. All over our garage and my dad's car, in red spray paint, was a bunch of swastikas, satanic symbols, slurs, and the number 666 everywhere. Immediately, we both jumped up to tell my mom, who went to look. The thing that freaked me out the most was the attic door being slid open and the scuff marks on the side like someone tried to climb up there. We never found out who did it. We got the spray paint off everything, and we ended up moving last year, but I do have a theory. My brother was 14 to 15 at this time and always had friends over, but as teenagers do, he always had plenty of ex-friends. His friends were always big guys, which would make sense as to why I heard a man's voice. My brother also had a reputation for being a fighter, and people knew better than to mess with him or my family unless they wanted their asses kicked. My dad was a tow truck driver, and everyone knew my brother went on trips with him, so it would make sense they waited until my dad's truck was gone to do this. He had recently gotten into a fight with 3 of the boys in our neighborhood whom he had been friends with for a long time before. I believe they were the ones who did this, considering a few factors. 1, they were pissed off and knew how valuable the car was to our family, so they mostly sprayed that. 2, we live in a small Midwestern town where break-ins were rare. 3, they knew the layout and how to get into our garage without going through the house. And 4, the symbols they painted were incredibly offensive, and some were even seen as evil in our religion. So, though I can't prove it, I believe they were the ones who broke in. And then the next story says someone opened my window. This story is much shorter and less interesting than the first story. I don't think so. It is shorter, but I don't think it's any less interesting. This happened last summer, about 2 weeks before we were moving to a new town. My dad had recently switched jobs to be a cattle hauler, and him and my brother were in Missouri at the time, so it was only my mom and I this night. It was early June, so I had stayed up past 5 a.m. Luckily, my mom had woken up and wasn't able to fall back asleep, so we were both in our rooms. I was bored and decided to finish packing. While I was sitting on the floor, probably getting distracted by random things as I put them into the box, I started hearing gunshots down the road, probably like 6. I don't know if that's related, but I find it to be a weird coincidence. After that, I was a little on the edge, and I felt safer because I wasn't the only person awake, and I continued packing. About 10 minutes after the gunshot sound, I heard my window open. My window locks hadn't worked in the 13 years we lived there, and there was never a priority to fix, so opening my window wasn't hard. I froze, thinking maybe I had just convinced myself I heard something because I was scared. I had blackout curtains, so I wasn't able to see outside, but I was able to see when the curtains moved from either someone touching them or the wind. I ran out of my room across the hall to my mom's room. I told her and she went in my room to check. My window was open, but no one was there. She shut my window and put this little wooden pull thing in it so it couldn't be opened again. I did not sleep in my room that night. I hope you enjoyed these stories, and I'm sorry if I put the wrong flair on it. You did it perfectly. I have more stories for the Let's Not Meet in the paranormal tag, and I'd like to get around to telling them at some point. I'm considering writing one of the Let's Not Meet stories right now. I love you, stay safe, have a nice day or night. You have to share every single story with us. You have to, that's the rule. I don't know why, I think it's so crazy, like, when one of you guys shares a story, I feel like a million follow that. Like, you can't just post a one story on the subreddit, you end up posting like 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, I don't know. But it's like weird that like crazy shit always happens to the same people. Like, I don't have just one experience, I have like a million different experiences, and it's weird because you would think like in my lifetime I would only have 1 or 2, but it's like, no, that's not how it works. Okay, and this last story says, my friend and I almost got kidnapped by a creepy drug lord. This happened to my best friend and I when I was in 5th grade and she was in 6th. I'll name her Elle. We often went for walks around her neighborhood when we hung out. To give a layout of the land, it was a residential neighborhood, and the sidewalk path we took this day was a big loop with houses lining the street. Behind all the houses was just a large patch of wooded area. Sorry if that makes no sense, that's the best description I've got. It'll be important later. It makes perfect sense, you're good. On this particular day, it was raining outside, so we took 2 umbrellas with us, the kind that pop out with the push of a button. Being the silly little goofballs we were, we decided to pretend we were spies, and every time a car drove past us, we would dramatically pop out our umbrellas and shield ourselves from their view. After doing this a few times, another car came by and we popped out our umbrellas. They drove past us a few meters, and for some reason, the people in the car, 2 males I would guess were in their early to mid-20s, decided to pull over. I don't think my friend and I were overly concerned at this point, but we must have known something was up because we kept watching them. It wasn't until the 2 men got out of the car and turned to walk towards us that we began to panic. Being friends with Elle since practically childbirth, we must have had some sort of telepathy because we looked at each other and decided to book it in the opposite direction. The men quickly got back into the car and pulled into a driveway to turn around and drove in our direction. Time must have moved in weird ways that day because we somehow had time to hide behind a big pine tree for a few moments before quickly deciding that we'd better bang on one of Elle's neighbors' front doors to get help. This all happened before the two men caught up to us. We ran to the nearest house and started ringing the doorbell, but it was too late. The two men were rounding the corner and were about to spot us. Luck was on our side that day because this house happened to have two large railings in front of the front door with two big bushes that concealed us from view from the street. We both ducked down in an attempt to hide, but it didn't work. We ran out of the driveway to find that the two men were pulling into the driveway next door to once again turn around and come after us. At this point, Elle and I both realized our best option was to run behind the woods that would allow us to pop out right behind Elle's house. So that's what we did, and we escaped successfully. A fun little twist is this. I have another lifelong friend who lives in the neighborhood, Abe. It didn't take me long to realize that she had a next door neighbor who had a very troubled son in his 20s who parked his car out in the street. It was the same car that followed Elle and I. Years later, Abe told me that police and SWAT teams were outside our neighbor's house. She later found out the guy living in that house had been arrested for running some sort of drug operation. So, to the 20-something drug lord pedophile who tried to kidnap me and my best friend, let's not meet again. I feel like these stories were really short. I'm sorry, this is gonna be a short video. When I pick out stories, normally I'm really good at being able to tell if it's gonna be like a 20-minute video or around the 20-minute mark. This is not gonna be around that. Sorry. But I'm way too lazy to go through and find another story, and I kind of want to get these overalls off because they're very tight. I was going to talk about it at the end, and I will talk about it at the end. So, that's it. Sorry. But I hope you guys enjoyed. If you have any other stories you want to share with me or the community, I will have my subreddit link down below. I love hearing your guys' stories, and I'm so grateful that you guys take the time out of your day to submit stories to me. It's the only reason I can continue making these videos. I feel like I don't thank you guys enough, but I also feel like I do thank you a lot, and I don't want to be annoying about thanking you, but I feel like I should thank you, like, I don't know. And just thanking you in general for allowing me to do this as my job. Like, I don't know, it's just the craziest shit in the whole world. But I'm not gonna get into that. We're not gonna get mushy-gushy. But I am gonna go. I love you guys. I will see you in the next one. Bye! So, I'm gonna stand up, and if you say anything about my body, I'll punch you in the throat. I bought these overalls. I bought them at Goodwill, and they were in my size section, so I assumed they were my size, and I bought them because they were cute and they were like $4. I'm pretty sure they were made for a small child. Also, when I'm not sitting on my knees, I look like a small child. I think they were made for a child, and they don't fit me, but they're so cute, and I love wearing them. Like, I put them on yesterday, and I was obsessed. Like, look how cute. Like, they're so cute, but they're just so fucking tight. But okay, so I did the trick where I got them wet. They're fucking wet right now, and I'm wearing them to hopefully stretch them out a little bit. Like, it's really uncomfortable wearing wet jeans, but I think it's working. I do think it's working, but I really like them, so I want them to work. I also got a bunch of other stuff at the thrift shop. Don't know why I said it like that. Don't know what happened there. Done, whatever. I'm out of breath. I bought a bunch of other stuff. I got like a cool Carhartt t-shirt and another t-shirt that says protect your nuts, and it's a squirrel with a bat protecting its nuts. Get it? And then I got some like really cute shorts, like jean shorts that are Guess. They're really cute. I'm so out of breath from standing up. Like, what the fuck? But I really want to make overalls work. I want to be an overall bitch. I don't know why. I see people wear overalls and I think they look so cute, and it's like, I don't know, it's like makes an outfit so cute and it's so simple, and I want to do that. I want to wear overalls, but so far, not, whatever. But okay, I'm gonna go. This is gonna be a short video. I'm so sorry to you, but I can't do anything about it. Okay, see ya.